All right. Hey, we're back here for episode 4 of Lodi High 91, 30 years later. And I have the honor of having Mrs. Maria Daddio Kruzdlo. Did I get that correct?
You
All
did.
right.
Both of them.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, Maria, how are we doing today?
But we are doing really well today. Thank you. Excited
I'm
for the
glad.
opportunity to chat with you.
I'm looking forward to it as well. Having just come off the soccer field, we're in familiar territory there. Maybe we'll revisit that a little bit later when it comes to what the life of a soccer mom has looked like. So we'll stay tuned on that. But as I've done with Audrey and Vinny, Mark was the sacrificial lamb kind of on the maiden voyage here. So I didn't quite do the slideshow technique that I've done with the others, but I thought that'll at least be a segue for us to talk about what walking down memory lane of middle school and high school was like, and then have that fast forward to what's going on today. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
All right, great. So let me share, and we will get cracking.
Oh my.
All right. Yeah, well, a little bit of a range of stuff to look at there, huh? Now, for some reason, did I forget? Are you seeing all the pictures at one shot or one at a time?
No, it looks like you can go up and down. But can I ask you to do something real quick?
Uh-oh.
Can you switch the D and the D in my last name?
Oh, good catch. How about that?
It's okay. My mom still does that.
Yes.
I've been married 26 years. 25 years.
The Z and the D. You're on 25 already.
25 was
okay.
Yep.
Good for you. Yeah, we'll go down that road for sure. But hey, obviously we got to start here. Give us a recollection of what was going on in this in that shot.
Oh, now I don't see it. I don't see anything.
Oh, you know what? I did share it again.
Unshared it.
Yeah. Oh, it certainly stirs me well that when I get a teacher on the line, my nerves get the best of me, I suppose, huh? All right, there we go. Now you can see it, I'm sure.
It's loading. Yes. Oh
okay.
Gosh.
So, what was going on here?
Wow, I think this was a Christmas outfit. Oh my gosh, that's like so. I haven't looked at that picture in a really long time. That was kind of cute.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know when the baby photo tradition started. Considering your editor role on the yearbook, I'm guessing this was something that precedes our graduation year, or what?
Yes, I feel like the baby picture thing. I don't know. I feel like that's been going on since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
When it comes to high school yearbooks, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, considering how many compromising photos there could be, the baby photo, I suppose, is an easy win, if you will, in terms of everyone being able to put their best foot forward.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, another technical question. Are you seeing it in full screen for yourself, or are you seeing just a small version?
It's pretty big.
Okay, good. All right, good. I want to make sure that was the case. So let's see if I can go from here. You know what? It looks like I want to be able to scroll it appropriately. And let's see how I can do that most easily.
What about that little arrow on the right-hand side?
There we go. How about that? Boom. So, 8th grade photo. How about it?
I'll tell you what, this photo we were just conversing about this photo last week.
Really? With who?
Yes, with my mom, my sisters, and my daughter and my niece. Because we were charged with going through our giant box of childhood school stuff that my mom had saved because she was cleaning out. She's like, go through this. And this picture popped up, and my daughter and niece both said, what was going on with your hair? I'm like, hey, that was cool hair at the time.
Right. Well, from a height standpoint, you're still in fairly reasonable range, huh?
Exactly. And And the other conversation was how much my son looks like me. Like when you look at my younger pictures, my son is a fitting image, which is kind of
Oh, really?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I got to say, as I've done with the rest of the gang here so far, I've tried to have the courtesy to say, hey, any topics or things off limits, and you were kind enough, as the others were, to say not the case. But I got to say, as we go to the next shot, we'll see if that still holds true
Oh, no.
here. All right.
Oh
So,
my! I remember that costume.
care to give us the details here,
Oh my
young
gosh!
lady?
Wait, that was Madonna. That was Halloween.
Ah, got it.
And I had the biggest fight with my dad over that costume, as I could clearly understand now as a parent why.
Right. Oh my word.
But hey, I mean, Madonna was popular at the time.
How about it? It's funny, having a teenage daughter, we when it comes to things like Halloween and fashion stuff, we basically say, hey, keep it in decent taste. Let's not make it an occasion to give more to the eye than needed. But so yeah, I'm with your dad on that one.
But we can talk. Well, we can talk about objectification, and we I have strong feelings about that. So girls should be allowed to wear what they want if it makes them feel good. They shouldn't have to worry about other people.
So I see you brought your soapbox with you tonight.
Yes. Huh? Oh, I totally did. Look out! It could get dangerous, Joe. It could get dangerous.
Yeah, no surprise. So I'm curious. On my end, I see my screen froze a little bit. Has everything kind of remained kosher on your end?
The picture went away. It said shared application was minimized.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe you just minimized it for some reason.
I don't know. Let's give that a whirl again.
See, the computer was so shocked by that image that it had to take.
Yeah, that's got to be the reason. Good call.
Now, surprisingly, my mom didn't have a picture of that. She didn't have a copy of that picture in the memory box.
Didn't make it, huh?
No.
Shocker.
Didn't make it.
All right, let's go on here. So now, a little blurry here, a little grainy here in the 8th grade shot. Give us a little mind bubble. What was going on in your head there?
Yeah.
I had visions of Michaela Maroney's not impressed face, after her Olympics, curveball. Don't want to put words into your head, but
I don't know what was in my head because I have very fond memories of that trip. So maybe I was going for the serious. We're in 8th grade and we're on a trip and there's no parents. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, actually, this shot was not. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that. I've forgotten about the landscape. Washington trip. This actually was the shot in front of the TJMS. Just about class. So. Yeah.
Actually, I don't know. Maybe that was a rough day.
I suppose.
Must have been a rough day.
We're all prone to those every once in a while, I guess, huh? All right, so I got a kick out of reading your words in my yearbook here. So this whole, I know I'll be finished writing before you are. Boy, did I really have an issue on that front?
Yes, you must have.
I guess I did. Okay. Well, along with then, good luck at NYU and choosing a major before you're a senior. So
my gosh.
So
I think it was a little harsh.
Yeah, well, hey, it's you go back a while, so I suppose you feel comfortable, right, with those you're closest with, I guess, right?
We'll chalk it up
to that.
It was very genuine.
Nice. All right, so let's move on to good old Lodi High. So now the hair is in right proportion relative to that time period. Give us any memories of what you read there in your words down below.
I'll tell you, you know how the universe works.
Yeah, tell me.
We were just talking. A colleague of mine who's doing the middle school yearbook, because right now I work at an elementary and middle school, and so we were talking about all the kids' pictures, and making sure you get everybody's name right, and how stressful that is as the yearbook editor to make sure all of that's in place. And so then I was talking with the 8th graders that I work with, and I was saying, like, the 8th grade yearbook is nothing compared to your high school yearbook, because you get that little piece of space to speak your mind. And you
Yeah.
have to try to figure out how to be really clever with the words and the phrases that you use, because
Right.
there's so much written between the lines. And there are definitely some things written between the lines there that
Yes.
bring a chuckle, and still have meaning today. So that's
Do
kind of
they?
cool.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
So kind of cool
Yeah.
to look back at that. And yeah, I mean, I married my high school sweetheart.
Yes.
So,
I know.
there's a
Well,
lot in
later
there.
on, I want to hear more about that story, because it was, yeah, as you said, it's great when some of that stuff still has resonance today. So glad to hear 25 years of marriage later is going strong.
Yeah, we love and hate each other equally at that time.
Aha, yes. As I'm sure Ray is in the room chuckling on the other end there.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Marriages work, and I think as long as you realize that, then you're going to be okay.
Yes, well said. Well said. All right. So, how about this with your personal bodyguards here with Joe and John, huh?
Oh my gosh, that is hysterical. That
Yeah.
that is
Well,
funny.
it's fascinating doing this one with you, considering your hand in the yearbook, right, and thinking about some of those decisions of what to include and what not. But
With
surely
how
you got to
many
get
times?
some right. Surely you got to get some play in there, right?
Absolutely, it's how many times can you get you and your friends in there, right? I mean,
Right.
that. Otherwise, why would you want all that aggravation to put the
Yeah, that's
yearbook
right.
together? Right? You got to get a little bonus out of it.
Absolutely, fringe benefit. So here we go. I got a kick out of Diane below you doing her clap as you guys are up top. But I got to tell you, those hoop earrings, you still got them or what?
Yeah, no. But
No,
I will
not so
say,
much.
I should take a picture. I'm going to take a picture of this one, because
Well,
my
I'll
daughter's
send you the slideshow so you can
okay.
have
All
it. You
right,
can have
good.
them all. Yeah.
All right, because yeah, the hoop earrings are really back in style right now for kids.
Ah. Well, I got to
And
say, considering taking a shot of your daughter Maya, not too bad when it comes to some of the apple not falling far from the tree.
there you go.
Hopefully, she'll agree positively
Yeah.
with that assessment.
Yes.
All right, homecoming court.
Oh boy. Yeah,
Give us,
we were just looking at so many of these pictures, because my mom had kept them all, which is so
yeah,
cool. Yeah. I love the braces. You could see all the metal shining through
yes,
there.
right.
That
Well, I tell you, you accented very nicely there, huh?
yeah, you see, it was just a little more bling.
There you go. So, obviously, when it comes to things like homecoming court, no juicy details or drama to report. Nothing Audrey had on that front.
Well, I mean, Audrey's Audrey. We gotta love Audrey.
That's right.
No. That was a cool experience, something a little unexpected. And
Yeah,
again, going through all of that with my son, and now my daughter, with the high school, and she just had her junior prom, and
yeah,
it's just so funny to see how many traditions sort of stay. And
right,
sometimes you wonder, like, why do they stay? And should they be changing? And I don't know.
right.
It's interesting how some things stay the same and other things do not.
Yes, yeah. Tradition is a double-edged sword that way. I agree.
It very much is.
So, needless to say, we're gracious behind there as the crown is being placed. I'm assuming.
Absolutely,
Very
absolutely.
good.
I mean, Mr. Benson, that was a good time. The highlight of that was riding in the convertible.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's coming up. Stay tuned. You got the court going on there.
Yeah,
Audrey,
got
Audrey did.
extra use out of the prom dress. You can never go wrong there.
Ah, there you go. Double duty. I've got a kick out of this one. With the multiple hand heights going on.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure. If you were, if in your case, if you were hiding some sort of,
Right?
face that I didn't want to have seen or what.
No, I think that was just the angle of the photographer. I forgot that picture there.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
thankfully, you're not hitting the witness stand or anything, so I suppose it
No,
could be
no,
worse.
right? Yeah, I could, like, that wasn't me. That's not me. It's just somebody in my
Right.
dress.
And as you said, here's that convertible, huh?
Yeah, that was fun, and it was such a warm day for November. I believe that was in November, so
You
we were
know, I was
lucky
just
because
gonna.
we weren't
Uh,
freezing.
yes, I was gonna ask about that. I figured it was gonna be somewhere in late fall. So yeah, that's not a given. So
No,
glad to hear that.
not.
All right, and then how about some time as the soccer statistician?
I mean, my coveted role. I was
Yeah.
telling my daughter too. I was like, yeah, I was the manager of the boys soccer team in high school, and she's like, you were? Grandma let you do that? And I was like, well, the coach was a family friend.
Right. Well,
That definitely helped.
and considering Maya's path in the soccer field, I was trying to think back. Would that have been a sport you would have considered had they had a girls' team? Or I was trying to remember any sort of other connection to soccer other than just being a helping hand there.
No, there was no connection to soccer except, Mr. Jasmine. And, looking
Okay.
for something to do at that, that season because
Right.
there was no girls soccer. I mean, I always think that because again, going back to my daughter and sort of thinking about Title IX and all of the opportunities that brought. And, I
Right.
told her, I said, there was no girls soccer team at my high school. And she's like, what are you talking about? It's just a given.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and then her high school, she plays lacrosse too, and still up north, where we grew up, there isn't lacrosse at many of the high schools up there, and so it's
Is
just
that
interesting,
right?
where you grow up and the opportunities that are provided to you or not provided to you based on your luck of the draw, your family, where you go to school,
Sure.
So who knows if I would have played? Maybe. I
Right.
mean, I love watching it. And I think my time as manager, um, gave me an edge on sort of like understanding the game.
That's true. A little bit of a tutorial. I wish we could have done a better job of giving you a better product to look at, but oh well. Doing our best at a small school. Well,
Hey, I can call offsides pretty well.
okay, which is not a given. So that's a good skill to acquire that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, yeah, here I'm trying to catch up with the ladies when it comes to my hair height,
There you go.
and
You was pretty tall there.
I'm gonna get kick a Jeannie looking up. She's like, um, yeah, I don't know if she sees like a meteor or an asteroid coming through. Who knows?
I have to say, we weren't very good at like picking the best pictures, but that also goes back to you didn't see the picture right after you
Well,
took it.
that's
It had to
right.
get developed first.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. The clock was ticking, so it is what
Yep.
it is.
Yep.
So I got to kick out a couple of these group shots coming up where you find yourself firmly center back, and wasn't sure if that was by design or that just happened to be the way it rolled.
I don't know. I think that was just the way it rolls. I don't remember
Yeah,
having a say in this. I wasn't
right.
tall, so I don't know how I ended up so far in the back. But
Yeah, not too bad. Jen Sager next to you there. That could have been problematic, but you worked it out. Amnesty International.
that was a good
I,
club. That was
yeah.
that was a fun
What,
club.
what sort of memories do you have of that?
Like that, just that advocacy piece, that sort of speaking up for
Sure.
people who need a voice. That's sort of something that has stayed with me through time. I keep trying to start like a middle school chapter. So we have
Okay.
something similar, but we'll do some amnesty stuff. But um, you know that's important. I think it's important to use your voice when you can.
Absolutely. Right. Totally agree. Okay. All right. Little editorial staff going on there.
That's a
Um,
bunch right there. I love Mark's crossed arms.
oh, me too. He had the style oozing out of him, so it's hard to keep up. Meanwhile, I've
Oh,
got this Arnold Schwarzenegger flat top going that don't know exactly why that was a fascination, but it is what it is.
hey man, I mean, those were all cool styles. I mean, that
Yeah, that's
was a
right.
big job we had. I mean, we literally had to cut the pictures.
Oh, you know what? Didn't even dawn on me. That's right. The
Like,
technological advances and challenges in this case.
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing
Mm,
how far things have come. Like I don't know, 30 years seems forever ago, but then really it was just the blink of an eye, and just how much things have changed
Sure.
and how
Yeah.
much simpler our lives were then.
Yes. Yeah, and that's something I want to make sure we get to when we get to family life that way, as far as kind of comparing and contrasting some of those things, because you're right. It's yes, I think the exponential nature of the change when it comes to what technology has done is just so fascinating.
Absolutely.
Okay, so how about that for a little candid?
Oh my,
A little contemplative shot?
that's fantastic. Oh,
Yeah,
there
I
was
gotta
just
say,
so much hair.
yeah.
And I
Yeah,
had
this one.
giant hoop earrings again. Look at those
Oh,
things.
yes, you know what? I didn't even notice them. How about that?
It kind of blends in with the hair and the black and white. That's funny.
But I gotta say, this one's like screaming for Matt Pruden to like do a sketch or a
Yes.
sculpture. That contemplative face. The female counterpart here for the
Yep.
thinker.
Oh yeah, the thinker. Oh, I remember that picture.
Do you?
Yeah. That's a good.
Yeah.
I wonder if they still do that. Do they still take that picture of
You
the whole
know that
class up
that's
on
a
that
good
hill?
Yeah, that's a good question. I should ask my nephew, who had the privilege of having your sis, by the way, and down at Washington School. So that was a
Oh,
hoot.
really?
Yeah, I think he spoke very fondly of Miss Daddio.
Oh, fantastic. Now, was this Michelle or Lisa? Well, it depends on how long ago it was, because
Oh,
they both
that's
work
a
in
good.
Washington now.
They,
It was probably
is
Lisa.
that right? Oh, I'm pretty sure it was Lisa.
Yeah, because she's
Um,
been there. She's been there a long time. My sister Michelle just moved over there a couple of years ago.
oh, yes, that makes sense.
It's-
Yeah, and Joseph's about to graduate from college, which talk about the days are long and the years are short.
oh
It's
yeah.
yeah, it's crazy, but such is life.
And I'm standing next to Lauren, and Lauren has kids graduating high school, going off to college this year. It's amazing
Okay.
how, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm curious to hear about Nick's journey when we get down to family
I
life as well.
Okay.
Little Florida boy, you got a chance to do some
Oh yeah.
snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
So
National Honor Society.
look out. Now it's funny because Joe Samperi and I were just talking again because of the box of memories that my mom made us go through.
Yep.
She had the pamphlet of the ceremony, and he got in as a junior, and I didn't get in till I was a senior, and that was like a little bit of a sore subject. And I was like,
Uh-oh.
I don't know why I didn't get in as a junior. I'm like, what was the
Yeah.
criteria? I don't even
Shocker.
remember.
Huh.
I don't know, but I feel like I need to find out.
Oh
It
boy.
wasn't a big deal. Like, I don't remember being sad about not getting in, but I
Right.
don't remember why. Like, I didn't do anything dramatic my senior year to change things. It was pretty much status
Yeah.
quo.
Yeah, you
So I
weren't
don't know.
exactly a rabble rouser or going renegade on junior year, I would think.
No, no.
Huh.
Yeah, so I don't
Good.
know. I don't know what the story is. But yeah, that was a proud moment. And
Yeah, why not?
even
Absolutely.
mixed feelings on that, because I wish I remember, because I don't, did we have an application? Did we have to apply? We have to like send a resume with our
Great
accomplishments and our
question.
service hours, because it's a much bigger, I'm sure you know with your kids,
Yes.
but it's a much bigger process now.
Yes, absolutely.
And my son Nick never got in, and
Okay.
my daughter did. And that's it's kind
Mm,
of like a little running joke between them, but it was simply because he did a lot of his extracurricular things outside of high school, and
that
that was what prevented him from getting into the
right.
honor society. And I felt like that wasn't really right. um,
Yes.
it is what it is. I think
Right.
it's a feather in your cap, but at the end of the day, I don't, it didn't hold him back from anything.
That's right. That's right. You're not defined by those accolades.
Yeah.
All right. So got a kick out of this one. And hey, it begs the question. You may as well answer it now. Were you?
I think I probably was, because here's the deal. I was probably getting out of class to do those
Ah,
flips, right? Because that was the other benefit of being on the yearbook committee, was that you got out of class to take the pictures, to go to all the events, to do all that stuff. Not that I was the kind of kid that tried to get out of class.
Right, sure.
Never.
No. No, of course, when we had Miss Scheller for senior year English,
Oh,
the time wasting grenades that were tossed when someone would bring up a random topic within the first 5 minutes. It's a pretty routine experience, so I gotcha.
yeah, and I think that's still true in high school today. The kids talk about that all the time. Oh
Sure,
my gosh,
yeah.
we got her off topic in 3 minutes today.
Some things don't change.
They don't. They don't.
And you got the Florida representation going on. So
Yeah, there you go.
this is
Look at that.
perhaps
See?
a premonition for the Gulf Coast.
Maybe.
Dead Poet Society. I'm trying to remember here. What exactly did you guys do?
Oh, so this was creative writing. You know what? I was just talking about this too with my
Look at
eighth
that.
graders. It's wild because we were talking about creative writing and how how sometimes I hold grudges and how it's really
Oh.
not healthy to hold grudges. But I let one of those grudges out in one of my writing pieces because it was a girl that was trying to steal my boyfriend, husband now, but boyfriend at the time. And so I wrote a story and she died a very gruesome death in a meat grinder in Shopper. And so
Awkward.
they're begging me, they're like, you have to find this writing piece and bring it in. I'm sure I have it saved somewhere.
Yes.
But that was not in my
How
mom's
about that?
Yeah.
Well played. Well played. Yeah, we didn't exactly have Google Docs back then, so in terms
So,
of saving some of the stuff, not always easier said than done in some situations.
absolutely.
So, Video Club. I was not aware of you having your hand in this, Mrs. Renaissance gal.
Really remember being in this club either.
You don't.
That funny. Maybe I just showed up for the picture. I don't know. But it
Right.
kind of makes sense. I mean, I did want to go into media, so it makes sense that I was there.
Oh, that's true. That's
You know,
true. That there, I could see the connection there.
yeah. I don't remember if I actually do anything. I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, it was a
Oh,
pretty.
look at that. That's a great picture.
That is a great shot. I was wondering who was the inspiration for this one because it's definitely got a lot of character to it.
I gotta say it was probably Beth. I'm gonna go with Beth.
Yeah, that could be. She's anchoring there at the foundation. I see.
Yeah. Those were good times. I love all the blazers. I have blazers on in a bunch of these pictures.
You know what? That's correct. Was that a TV or movie inspired fad or what?
I don't know, but I was just trying to look pretty cool there.
Yeah. Well, we were going from the 80s to the 90s, so
yeah,
maybe you were a
transition.
trendsetter yourself. or maybe you gave Mark a call at Coda to see if he could hook you up with something.
There you go.
So I got a kick out of this one. I have vivid memories of your getting the volleyball out and cracking yourself up trying to get the ball over the net at times. Am I remembering correctly?
Yes. No, volleyball was a fun time in gym, and it's funny because the eighth graders are involved in their like little volleyball rotation right now, and they're complaining about their team and so doesn't have to hit the ball and blah, blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like volleyball. I had so many fun memories of volleyball and having red arms after playing volleyball in gym.
Okay.
But that was fun. It was good stuff.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, Jim's
not. We're out of here. That was. Look at that.
Well, and I was trying to remember, Maria, did you write the text for that entire 2-page shot there?
I don't know.
So within the yearbook itself, you have all these kind of disparate photos, but it's all tied together by this kind of creative prose that I'm guessing you had a hand in.
Maybe.
Maybe one of your Get Poet Society assignments, perhaps.
Yeah, you know what? There was probably some connection, or if there wasn't, there should have been.
Yes, that's right. Yes, but so we'll say kudos on a job well done, despite the limited recollection of the details.
That's so funny. It's funny how some things I remember this picture. I remember those
Do
short.
You?
Yes.
So whose idea was it?
The picture, I don't think I'm going to take credit for the picture. I don't know how I was the one chosen to be lifted up.
That's probably right. They're like regaling you as the queen here.
I don't know. I don't think I was the queen. I think I was probably this gullible one that was willing to be picked up.
There you go. Well, because then it led to this next one that I thought I had a kick out of. The jump rope was not for the faint of heart, I see, or the
Oh
faint of
gosh,
body,
man.
apparently.
Whew. Jump roping's hard work. Hard work.
Yeah,
Jump rope for heart. I remember
there
that.
you go. So these are always interesting to get a feel for what you put in the will and the won't there. So the less miserables got me cracking up. Um, Now the Ham-a-lot. I'm trying to remember what was going on with that one.
I'm trying to remember as well. I feel like that had definitely had something to do with English 4.
Yes.
I think it had to do with them. I don't know. Did we read Hamlet? Maybe we
You
read
know,
Hamlet.
we must have. I'm
We
guessing at
must have.
some point in time. Yeah. Yeah, but I couldn't quite remember if it was like a mix of Camelot and Hamlet or what was going on. Yeah, who
I
knows?
don't know. I don't know. Well,
Right.
I'm gonna have to think on that one. I don't know, but clearly it was very important for me to put it in here like this.
Yes, that's right. It made the cut.
It
And then
did.
On My Machine with Jenny S and Jenny B changed that song. What was going on there?
I think, well, I mean, gosh, back then we had our answering machines with, where you had the message and you played the song, and you had to have the right piece of the song.
Of
And
course.
I don't think I changed my song often enough. Change that song.
Ah, I see.
Change that song.
An old soul of sorts, sticking with the classics,
Yeah,
huh?
that's so funny. That's so funny.
Well, and here you got Ray K and the date.
Yeah.
Should we go there now in terms
Yeah,
of
sure.
digging
Yeah.
into the date details?
So 4/29, that was our first date.
Okay.
That was our first date. It's coming up, right? Coming up 4/29.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
still
it's
kind of
actually
like.
my dad's birthday.
Oh, that's cool. That's good.
Yeah.
April's a good month, but yeah, we still
Absolutely.
kind of acknowledge that, and we try to order pizza on that day when we
Ah,
can, because that was our first date. We went out for pizza.
nice.
Yeah, I
Now
don't
I'm
think
trying to remember.
I did not eat anything on that day. He ate everything
Oh
because I
boy.
didn't want to eat, because pizza was really a poor choice on my part. Like, 'cause pizza can sometimes be messy.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yeah, Vinny reminded me of Pizza Face as one of my nicknames in that very respect. So I feel you on that one. Now I was trying to remember. Did you guys meet at ShopRite?
Yes, we met
Okay.
at ShopRite. Yeah, he was the front end manager and I was the cashier.
Oh boy, look at that.
Yeah.
Huh. So nothing awkward in that front when it came to having
No.
kid gloves when it came to performance and all that?
Well, I'll tell you what, like, I was the one who always got my break last and my lunch last, because you can't show any favoritism. It's kind of
So
like when you're the coach.
overcompensating, huh?
Yeah, when you're the coach of your own kid, right? It's like that same kind of deal.
Yes. Okay. So all right. So you guys met at
Met in
ShopRite?
ShopRite, then we dated through high school. He finished college. He moved out. He got a job out in California. I finished college, and a couple of days later flew out to California. We lived out in California for about 7 years, and then we moved back. We moved back in 2000. No, 2001. We moved back in 2001, just a few months before 9/11.
Look at that. Now, I'd imagine he has family locally, as do you, of course. Yeah.
Yes. So his mom was in New Jersey, as well as much of his extended family. But his mom has since moved to Florida. She moved to Florida right after he moved to California, and she's still living by herself. God love her, 92 years old.
Wow, good for her.
She is an inspiration.
Yeah, plugging away.
Yeah.
I must say, you'll appreciate this. I find both in my family experience and in my financial planning work, the ladies seem to do better being on their own, much more so than the guys do when it comes to taking care of themselves. Needless to say, when my mom passed 5 years ago, my mom appreciated his queen more than ever when it came to appreciating all the ways in which she kept the the story going, so to speak. So
Yeah, no,
not surprised to hear
absolutely.
that at all.
Absolutely.
All right. So then the Breakfast Club.
So, and I don't know why, again, like you think back to how certain things happen and then you think, I don't know, as an educator, I kind of look at it from like the school perspective. So we used to get to school early every day and go hang out in the cafeteria.
Mm.
Right, where they like served breakfast. We didn't always eat breakfast, but we just kind of hung out there. And I like they do that now, but they do that now, you know, to assist the kids who can't have breakfast at home, right? It's like that the free and reduced lunch. And I'm like, was it like I don't know, I was completely unaware, but it was just like a fun time to hang out. You had to get to school early to get a parking space because there weren't very many, right? Especially as a senior if you were driving.
Good call.
And, you know, and my daughter, you know, she has that similar struggle now because as a junior who drives, you know, the seniors get all the prime parking spaces and the juniors get the leftovers. So, she, you know, sometimes she's parking 4 or 5 blocks away from school. I'm like, it'd be easier to take the bus. But no, that's like not cool to take the bus when you can. You know,
and so she's driving regularly on a daily basis.
Yeah, she drives to school on a daily basis, but you know has that same struggle that we had for different reasons. I mean, for us, it was just there was no parking.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It didn't matter if you were junior or senior. Oh gosh, Tammy Carcarara's stupid questions. I don't remember what any of the stupid questions were, but that would be
I gotta say, and I know. Right, and Tammy, I know you listen to these, so you have a little bit of advance notice here to think of what questions may come to mind and see where 30 years is taking you.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical.
Yeah, and then wrapping up with this in the back, good old credits.
Gotta have credits.
Yeah, well, and I gotta say, yeah, kudos on a job well done to you and the twins when it came to what you put together.
That's funny. And you know what's funny about credits is I always give my students a hard time, you know, if they're putting a presentation together. I'm like, it's your presentation. You don't need to give yourself credit at the end. Well, clearly I felt differently when I was
there. Yeah, that's right.
I'll have to show them this. They'll get a kick out of it.
That's right. At least you don't have the 2 fingers pointing at you in the photo there. You kept that contemplative posture in the picture.
There you go. Yeah, that was definitely a theme too. Oh my gosh, some of these could be great memes.
Yes. Well, I was going to say, yeah, thought bubbles can go all sorts of ways when it comes to looking at some of these old shots. So have at it. Well, good. Hopefully this was a fun little trip down memory lane. And now we can kind of fast forward and transition our way to thinking about where you find yourself now. And as we do that, I would be remiss not to start here. My condolences, of course, with the passing of your dad. Tell us, so it's been several months now, right?
Yeah, he passed away on January 10th.
Yeah, so
it was he was sick, but it was a shock. It was a shock. He had Lewy body dementia, which most people are not familiar with, even though it is one of the leading kinds of dementia. But it's similar to having Alzheimer's and Parkinson's at the same time.
Wow.
So, you know, he declined pretty quickly to the point where he would have very, very vivid delusions. And he would be in his own home, but not think he was in his home, didn't recognize my mom, and, you know, and became very paranoid, thought people were stealing from him, thought people were going to break in. And so it was very difficult to see a man who had such control over his life and such a desire to sort of keep his family safe, feel like he couldn't trust any of us anymore and could never feel safe. So that was heartbreaking, and it was hard on all of us. I mean, very much so hard for my mom because she would try to take care of him, and you know, he didn't know who she was. He thought she was an imposter. You know, so he would fight with her when she was trying to do things to help him. So, you know, luckily he was at home until the very, very and then he ended up passing away at home. We were able to get him home on hospice care. He was on hospice one day, which is a blessing.
Wow, that's right. That's
In
exactly
some
right.
ways, but was very challenging at the same time. We went from looking for a nursing home for him to looking for hospice care to planning, funeral arrangements. It was wonderful though, because all the funeral arrangements were taken care of through the Decheras.
Yes.
And the Dowsons were involved. So it was
Yes.
kind of, he was treated like family. And I feel like that made that whole time so much easier. And I gave his eulogy, and it was very hard. And but I think when my dad was very strict. I mean, he was off the boat Italian, with 3 daughters. God love him. I don't know how he survived.
You're not kidding. Character builder.
with one bathroom. I don't even understand it. But
did they remain in the same home?
Yes, and my mom is still there. Yeah, my mom is still there.
Wow.
She will not leave, even though she really should. She will not leave. And I understand. I do understand that. But when you look back, when someone that is close to you passes, and you look back and you reflect on, what are the takeaways? What is the legacy? Like, one of the things that really stuck out, which I don't think I really appreciated until he was gone, was that he never had a bad word to say about anyone. It didn't matter what he was going through or how hard his life was. He just was always so positive. And I feel like, since his passing, that causes a lot of personal reflection, just to sort of think about, like, okay, so what would my legacy be? And what are my kids going to remember about me? And I'm like, all right, I need to chill out a little bit. but on the same side, like, my dad was so disciplined, and like, you have to do this and you have to be able to take care of yourself. And like, I am who I am because he was who he was. But just really to appreciate that, and just to make sure that we remember to say those things before people aren't there. So
absolutely.
It's hard. It's definitely hard. I wasn't prepared for it at all. And it's still hard, helping my mom sort of grieve, because I don't really think she has yet. I think she's just trying to keep moving forward because she feels like that's what she's supposed to do for us.
Yes.
And we just have to kind of give her own time. But we are actually going, the girls and my mom are going to Alaska this summer, because that was something that my mom and my dad were planning to do that they never got to do. And she's like, well, if I can't do it with Daddy, I want to do it with the girls. So we're going to do all the things that we would think my dad would want. And that, I think that will be a turning point.
Sure. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a cool trip.
I hear Alaska is tremendous in the summer.
Yeah, we have some cool excursions. We're going to go check out like the black bears catching salmon. We're going to go to the glaciers. I'm sure we're going to eat some nice crab. Yeah, so we'll see, but it'll be a good time, and it'll be really the first time that my mom and the girls have kind of been away, like, by ourselves. So I think it'll be cathartic.
That's a great idea, and thank you for your mini eulogy there. Well, frankly, it explains a lot. In terms of, you're talking about how that legacy takes shape, not just at the end of the rainbow, so to speak, but look back and see how some of those characteristics get, both actively and passively, passed on.
Mm-hmm.
That's bittersweet, of course.
Absolutely. And I also,
yeah. Well, and your description of having the Decharas and the Dowsons there in that process, you're right. There's something to be said about, there's a homecoming feeling to knowing that, people who have had overlap to your story being there, helping you walk through in those moments where, you're in shock on the one hand, and then on the other hand, you're still having to keep the plate spinning, so to speak. So, um, mm,
Yeah, yeah. They knew all the questions to ask. And my dad had served in the military, and you know how there's always some things that you learn about a parent after they're gone that you're like, well, why didn't I know this? But he was drafted during Vietnam, even though he wasn't a citizen, which I didn't even know was a thing. I didn't think you could be
really?
drafted and not be a citizen. So yeah, because at that point he wasn't a citizen yet. He became a citizen after.
Who
And then
knew?
the other thing that I thought was so cool, and I took pictures of it and shared it with my kids, and they were like, wow, like, that's so cool. He was in the honor guard, and he served at Bobby Kennedy's funeral. And he got a thank you letter from the Kennedy family. Like,
how about that?
So yeah, those were some surprises he left for us to discover when we were going through all of his old military papers. And he got a full military funeral, and that was absolutely tremendous. And we wouldn't have known to even ask for those things if somebody had guided us down that path. So forever grateful.
Yes. Yeah. Here. That's well said. Wow. That's great. So obviously you still have mom back in Lodi then. How has your relationship with her evolved over time?
I mean, mom's always mom, she
yeah.
she
Preach.
Yeah, I'm so much like her, it's scary. And that's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. I think she's the one who really instilled in all of us girls to not ever have to rely on somebody else to take care of you. That doesn't mean you don't want somebody there to be with you, but it's like you need to be independent and reliant. And she just showed us that not only through her words but through her actions. Starting her own business, having the daycare business for so many years, and just influencing so many kids' lives. And when she retired a few years ago, every summer she would have a daycare picnic, and all the kids that she's ever taken care of would be invited. And it was so cool to see on her last one that some of the kids that she had taken care of as infants came back to say goodbye. They were now college graduates. I mean, just so neat to know and see the impact. And, they would still call her Aunt Pat because that's what everybody called her. And just, the gratitude and helping to shape a life. And I think that, subliminally, there's a reason why all three of her daughters became educators, because I think we sort of saw that, and we saw the value and the impact that you can have on other people's lives, in that role.
Hey, talk about legacy. That's gold right there. That's fantastic. When it comes to thinking about your family rhythms today versus family rhythms growing up, give us a sense, kind of comparing and contrasting. What sort of values, politics, religion, social stuff? Give us a sense of what continues and where you guys have charted a different path.
Yeah, it's interesting because my daughter and I were just talking about this the other day, in what traditions we have, because, one of the family traditions is Sunday dinner at 1:00, right? Doesn't matter, you're always having Sunday dinner at 1:00. And when we moved out to California, Ray had a job where, he worked odd hours and, sometimes worked on Sunday. And then when I worked in media, I worked on Sunday. So that tradition sort of, went by the wayside, and you ate Sunday dinner whenever you could. It became more of like just a regular kind of day. It's still a Sunday dinner when we go see my mom, or, when we're at my sister's house. But, that tradition has gone by the wayside, and I have mixed feelings about it. I think it's special to have that, but it doesn't necessarily fit into our life. And so I don't want to force something if it doesn't really fit. So, I think it's nice to sort of have that as that special occasion when we go to mom's, like tomorrow dinner's going to be at 1:00.
Yes.
We're going to sit at the table for 5 hours until we can't move, because that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
I think our relationship with food and dinner as a family, in my own family, is very different. everybody's kind of coming and going at different times, especially with sports and work. It's kind of hard to have those like sit down at the table family dinners.
Sure.
But now it's like, okay, so let's gather in the family room and maybe we're watching a New York Rangers hockey game and we're sort of chatting. So there's still that time. It just sort of takes a different shape now. And,
yes.
And I think it's just sort of appreciating the time that we do have together. Even if it doesn't look the same as, what we grew up with, because times are different. We didn't have all of those options and opportunities, playing club soccer and doing this and like going for this extra training and going to physical therapy. Like that wasn't a thing,
Suck it up.
But there's like, the team's going to the body lab rehab place. We're going to take ice baths. Oh, okay. Like that wasn't a thing. Like that's a thing. Yes, it is. So I think life has changed a lot. And I think a lot of those traditions have morphed. I think moving out of New Jersey for a time really changed who I was, who Ray and I were as people, because, when you move to a different place, I didn't go away to college. So for me, that move was similar to other people's experience when they go away to college and they interact with different people from different places. You just kind of learn that people view things differently. People have different rhythms and routines. And it's sort of like taking things that make sense to you and sort of like creating your own new normal. And even when I look at like our family's life compared to my sister's family or my other sister's family, we sort of all have different routines, but they work for us. And I think in today's world, like you have to be okay with doing what works for you and not worrying about comparing yourself to someone else. Because I think that's where we get into a lot of trouble. It's very easy to compare yourself to somebody. I mean, just look at social media, right? It's like all about the comparisons and like who's doing this? Oh, they're doing that. I have to do this. And you can really get sucked into that. And it can become very unhealthy. And I think I have a hyper awareness to that, being an educator and kind of seeing the impact and how it like sort of feeds into school, and then seeing it with my own kids and seeing it even with my own self. I'm like, oh, like I got to pull away from that. I got to like not go there, because, even when you're aware of it, you can get sucked in really easy. So, when we were talking earlier about, how life was so much simpler when we were in high school compared to what kids had to deal with now, like we can't make comparisons about kids today and how we were. Like they can't be the same, because life and the world is so different. And we need to make sure that they're ready for what's out there today, not what we did. Just because we did it doesn't make it the right thing. It worked for us, but it's not going to work for the kids today. And
not a given.
It's hard because, you want those traditions, you want to keep those things in place. But at the same time, if we know that it's not what's best, why are we doing it? So we feel good. Like it's not about us feeling good.
Yes, well said. Well, and not to mention, I've not mentioned this yet, but considering your family's time in Ogdensburg, you really had a time machine travel, right? When it comes to thinking about a simpler time and space.
Oh yeah, gosh. I mean, it's funny because I was just talking about my child. It's so weird, Joe, that this all happened this week. Because one of my students that I work with, a fifth grader, I teach gifted and talented now, grades 3 through 8, at 4 different schools. So it's kind of neat to kind of see, from different parts of town. It's a pretty big district.
Look at you, the hired gun, huh?
Yeah, right. So, but she was like, she wanted to do something that made a difference. And she was just talking. She's just such an intellectual kid and a great writer. And we were looking at like all of the state symbols, and she's like who decides these things, right? And I said, well, a lot of them come from the public because they like make a pitch on something. And then she started researching, like, well, what does New Jersey not have? And I was like, well, there's this historical mine, and I grew up right down the street from it in Ogdensburg, the Sterling Hill zinc mine. It's famous, right? Much of the areas, much of the country's zinc was mined from that place, years ago. And so she started doing research. So she's talked to professors. She's got a petition going with hundreds of signatures, and she's trying to get us she's trying to get the governor to have a state mineral, and it's going to be zinc. And she created this whole presentation on all the benefits of zinc. And she's like, people don't even know what zinc is. Did you? And she started doing all this research. She's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know zinc was so important.
Nice.
Like, most people probably don't know zinc is so important. So look at what look at the value of your research, and I think my sort of soapbox is, when we're teaching kids and when we want kids to learn and grow, it needs to be authentic. Like, there's so much value that's going to come out of this project for her compared to like write an essay on zinc. Who cares?
Right.
But now it has purpose, and there's an audience, and there's a mission. And, she's working on it at home, and she's like, well, can I work on it this weekend? Can I share this with you? And it just becomes, it takes on a life of its own, and the passion is there. And all we have to do to give that to each kid is to give them an authentic purpose. Or not even give them the authentic purpose, but show them that they have the opportunity to create that authentic purpose. And, that's what school's missing. And I feel like this is the time, coming out of COVID, like, we can't just go back to the way things were, because we know that didn't work for so many kids. So how do we sort of revamp, how kids learn? I mean, the world is a different place. Like, we're still setting up school like we went to school. The world is not the same place. Yes. Kids can find any fact they need in a millisecond.
Yeah.
We don't need to teach facts. We need to have critical thinkers so they can solve the problems that we've created.
Yeah. I think this came up in the Audrey interview as well. I forget who the scientist was in the 70s who coined a phrase that we're a society increasingly drowning in information but starving for wisdom. Mm-hmm. And to your point, Maria, that's I think that is the call of the day, that we'd be remiss not to make lemonade out of the lemons that the pandemic brought when it comes to thinking about what do new paradigms really look like and inspire the next generation. I'm having visions of like the Dead Poet Society sequel. How about it?
I like it.
Get a female lead there to suck the marrow out of these kids' approach to life.
Yeah, no, and I see it because I have the autonomy in the position that I have to help kids sort of foster that, authentic purpose. I mean, I had kids last year that presented to 125 countries via Twitter on United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And they created this social justice library, and they were educating other kids about social justice. And, it took a little more effort, and, we had to get permission to use social media, but there's tremendous power in that social media when used correctly, because we can reach so many more people. But, to be able to get feedback from leaders and from, the UN, I'm going to get the title wrong, like Deputy Secretary something. But, getting feedback on a presentation you do as an 8th grader from the United Nations, that's pretty remarkable stuff. And, those kids were motivated and are continuing that work in high school. And I feel like that's what's going to make this world a better place, when we can sort of give kids that power. Everybody has a finite amount of time. And if we don't give the kids the tools and give them access to the tools and opportunity to learn how to use those tools, they can't figure it all out on their own. So we are remiss in sort of banning, whether it's banning books, banning knowledge, banning access to technology. Let's use it and show them how to use it for a positive, use it for good.
Yes. Preaching the choir. Fantastic. You might not be aware, my brother works at Liberty Science Center as the head of teacher innovation in terms of helping science teachers think about, adapting their methods and evolving in that same vein in terms of thinking about. Yeah, I should link you guys up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, gosh, Liberty Science Center is right around the corner from us. So.
Yeah.
It's not that far.
Right. Not too bad at all, right?
No, I mean, it's right. Like, I don't know, like the turnpike's easy.
Yes. Right. Easy to get to there. Yeah. Well, it's funny. Before getting off the Ogdensburg topic, I remember, I think it was in middle school. I forget where the topic came up. It must have been around Halloween time. And I made a comment about envisioning you holding chickens on goose night and having the fresh eggs to toss around to folks. Not that you were necessarily the goose night type, right? The mischief night. depending on where you're from. But
No.
I remember you having a real kick out of maybe having a vision for what it was like on the farm time.
Yeah, no, we didn't have chickens. We didn't have chickens, but you know, I just when we moved to Lodi, I remember going back because when my parents had taken us to show us the house that we were going to move to, the big thing was, oh my gosh, there's sidewalks.
Ah,
And that was just such a big deal because in Ogdensburg, you know, there were no sidewalks.
not so much.
No, I mean, you had gravel roads, right? I got stitches in both my knees because I fell off my bike on a gravel road.
Yeah, a little rite of passage, the old bike accidents.
There you go. There you go. I still got the scars to prove it. But
Right.
yeah, no, I mean, I have very fond memories of growing up in Ogdensburg. I mean, it was definitely a different world. And I think about how different my life would be if we had stayed there.
Sure. How old were you when you went to Lodi?
Fourth grade.
Okay.
Mark and Audrey were two of my first friends.
Oh, how about that? Look at that, kind of weaving all things together.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I tell the kids that too, you know, new kids that are coming in or kids that are moving, you know, I said it wasn't easy and it was scary, like moving in fourth grade, especially I moved in March. Like,
oof.
You know, like everything's sort of established for the year, like you're coming in, you're like odd man out.
Right.
But, you know, like I said, those friends that I made, you know, we don't necessarily talk all the time, but like they're important people in my life.
Yes, absolutely. Well, hey, and you said all the time, true wealth is measured in who, not in what. So
Yeah,
preaching the choir there. Well, not to mention to have Curione's across the street and that strip along Union Street with Cardi's and Visentini. Not too bad a neighborhood for you to find your roots.
Absolutely. I was talking with a student that I have that just moved to Marlton, where I teach, from the Bronx. And she was talking to these other students about the corner store. And they couldn't understand what she was talking about. I'm like, oh, I remember the corner store.
Yes.
I got you.
Right.
Yeah, you know, like meeting your friends at the corner store, you know, just being able to walk to the corner store, you know, where I teach and where I live, like you can't walk, there is no corner store to walk to. Like if you're going to walk to the store, you're walking at least a mile.
Yes, gear up.
So, you know, it's different. You know, we were able to go wherever we wanted to in Lodi. You know, I just remember, you know, walking home and stopping at Burger King and everybody ordering fries and putting them in a big pile on the tray. Like, just those are the things that, you know, we had the freedom to do that I probably wouldn't have let my daughter do at that same age.
Yes.
You know, when you think about that, but it was different.
Right.
But was
free ranging before it was cool.
Yeah. The decavaricis and the lights under the eye, like it's just all of that stuff. Just,
oh boy.
You know, special things.
Yes. Well, let's move on and talk about a relationship with your sisters. How has that progressed over time?
Gosh, I mean, you know, sisters are sisters. I mean, I'm probably very similar to, you know, the brother. We're good. I mean, we say this all the time. Like, I hope there's never a time where we don't talk to each other, because in both of my parents' families, that has happened, right? The siblings have sort of, for whatever reason, just relationships, you know, weren't sustained for a variety of reasons. And we look at that and how sad it is. You know, like my dad's one brother didn't even come to the funeral, and part of me understands why, and part of me is like really, really angry. Like, how, like, he's your brother. How do you do that? But you know, like then I go back and I'm like, okay, you're being judgmental. Everybody has their reasons, and you have to accept that was what was right for him. And all I can do is sort of take care of what I think is right for me and for the people that I have, you know, some sort of impact over. So, you know, we try to, you know, we don't talk every day, but we talk, you know, every week. I definitely talk to my middle sister, Michelle, more than my sister, Lisa, just because my sister, Michelle, has a daughter a year younger than my daughter. And so we kind of, you know,
trading notes.
We commiserate together.
Keeping the sanity together.
Yes. Yeah. But, you know, we're all very close and we would all do anything for each other. And, you know, I think that's really important. And I see that in my own kids. Even though Nick is in college in Florida and mine is home, I don't talk to Nick every day, but my daughter does. You know,
How
and
about it?
they have such a close relationship. She went down to visit him in January and stayed with friends like on campus, and
Neat.
I just feel like if I do nothing else in life, like the
Yes.
fact that they are there and take care of each other, that's okay.
Yes. Enjoy a nice
Yeah.
deep mug of coffee or
Yeah.
kick one back when you think about seeing that legacy now.
Yeah.
You know, we have a saying in our financial planning world to consider doing your giving while you're living, because you're knowing where it's going. And there's something to be said about being able to step back out of life and be able to appreciate those little moments.
Yeah.
To recognize, because we all need to be reminded, right, on a regular basis when it comes to why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, because life is hard, man. Life is hard.
Yes, preach. Indeed. Now, I'm remembering right, Joe and Michelle are in Heights, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's Lisa and family?
My sister Lisa's in Heights too. They actually both live on the same block, just down one row over. Yeah, my sister Lisa lives like right up the hill from the Big Heights turf field.
Oh, nice.
And then my other sister lives right down the road from Corpus Christi Church.
Yes, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, they're close, and so they're both close to my mom, which is good. So they do a lot more of the heavy lifting with my mom on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, right.
Than I do. Like I'm responsible for taking care of, like, I don't know, I'm going to say the hard things, but they're like hard things for different reasons, you know, like they take care of a lot of hard things too, but it's just different, you know, things I can do from a distance because
remotely.
I can't be there.
Right.
You know, I can't be there the way they can be there. You know, like Joe gets called at least once a week, like my TV won't turn on.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Like I don't deal with
struggle's real. Yeah. You know, my mother-in-law used to be in town here, and now she moved a half hour away to a really nice, senior center. And yes, I now have some time back in my life, so to speak, when it comes to not addressing some major and often minor, needs. So
yeah,
I get it. Yeah, well, so I'm going to share again real quickly so we can have everyone get a little picture of the whole fam here, if I may. Hopefully, I chose a good representative shot there.
Yeah, that's pretty recent. That's from this Christmas.
Christmas time, that's right.
Yes, apparently I didn't get the memo to wear the plaid.
Oh, you know what? Yes, I did not even realize that. So details. There you go. Yeah, so you already gave us a little bit of a window into Nick and Maya and a nice tight relationship there. How did Nick end up down in Florida?
So, talk about your interest sort of bleeding off into your kids. Ray's a huge Christian. His sister has lived in Florida since she was 18. Her husband had a boat, so he would go down there, every summer and fish. And so his passion for fishing, that was something him and Nick have done since Nick was, a baby. We've got fish on our walls, and, there's just fish everywhere in our house, right? Fishing is one of our things. Right. And so, he became really fascinated with marine science. So when he first started looking for schools, he really thought he wanted to study marine biology. When you start to sort of look at like what are the end goals of a marine biology degree and how are you going to make a living, it gets a little scary.
Yes.
Because you're basically, it's a grant funded kind of life, right? And so live and die by grants, because although, there should be a lot more money going into marine science because we're killing our oceans and whatever. But so
another soap opera. Another soapbox, right?
But so when he started looking for schools, it was coast. He was going to go to Florida, and he was going to go to a coastal school because obviously those have the best marine science programs. So when he started looking, and when we started sort of getting more into it, he's like, you know what, maybe biology is just a better track, and then I'll kind of see where it goes. So he's, finishing up his second year at Florida Gulf Coast University. I mean, it's a nature preserve. It's on the Gulf Coast. it's gorgeous. Like there's
Yeah, I have a
nobody who,
cousin down in Naples.
yeah,
It's pretty sweet.
it's 5 minutes from Naples.
Yeah.
But it's great because we fly right out of Atlantic City and right into Fort Myers, and his school is 10 minutes from the airport.
Look
It's
at
amazing.
that.
It's like
Wow.
perfect. It's perfect. But he's into biology, so he gets to look at the environmental side, but he's also looking at like the pharmaceutical side. He's really into genetics right now, microbiology. So, he's getting to sort of explore, but he's also, he's got tons of friends who have boats, so they're out fishing. He's spear fishing and he's night fishing and he's this fishing and he's like, yeah, we caught fish and then we brought it back and we cooked a big feast. So I'm like, I feel bad for anybody in your dorm that doesn't like fish, but okay.
It is what it is.
It's all good. But he is absolutely living his best life. I mean, he just
that's great.
is where he's supposed to be. He's doing well in school. He's very happy. He's actually spending the weekend. He didn't come up for Easter because he had class Friday and he has class Monday. So it didn't really and he's done with school in 2 weeks. So he's with his girlfriend at her family's house, celebrating the holiday. So, we've learned.
Where's her family?
Right in Florida, just a couple hours from school. Yeah, she's originally from Chicago, but family and her moved down to Florida so she can go to school there.
Talk about climate change from Chicago down to the Gulf Coast.
Yeah. But he's doing well.
That's got to be very comforting for you and Ray to see him spreading those wings that way.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, it's our oldest Elijah's, kind of knee deep in all the search stuff right now. Thankfully he's a homebody and wants to keep it local if he can. But certainly if opportunities and fit deem it such that he'd go away, we're all for that. But it comes with risk when it comes to, should he find a special someone who happens to have roots elsewhere, who knows where life goes from there,
Yeah, I mean, it was a little scary. He graduated, he was class of 2020, so we were knee deep in COVID, right? He didn't pass the end of the senior year.
Right.
And
rough.
It was a little bit bizarre,
Yes.
Luckily, and he is forever grateful because he's like, I'm so glad I chose a school in Florida because at least, there's a lot of things I do not agree
right.
Florida on.
But a modicum of normalcy when it comes to the campus experience.
And the school was much more, they were very proactive. I'm so pleased with their communication and like they required masks on campus. They had some sort of, they didn't require testing, but like I don't know. It's just, they had sort of like a good mediated way to try to give the kids a little bit of normalcy while still keeping everyone, safe and protected.
Yes, that's right. Happy medium.
So, where a lot of his friends chose schools in state or in the Northeast, they were all home and he's like, I'm at the beach and I'm going to class.
Yes.
So it's interesting because the Florida schools have seen a huge influx of transfer students because they were like, listen, I'm done with restrictions. I want to have a life. And it was even interesting, just even though he did have a life his freshman year, he's like, Mom, like going back my sophomore year, he's like, the campus was like 3 times as big. He's like, there were so many more kids around and it was just really interesting, even in a state where it was pretty much a free for all from the beginning.
Sure.
But, like, he survived. It was a little scary, but, he learned how to take care of himself. And I was a little nervous about that because, he's a mama's boy. And,
boy.
He has really,
unintentionally, of course, right?
Totally unintentionally.
You're not channeling your Mrs. Goldberg on a regular basis, are you?
First grandson, born on my dad's birthday.
Wow.
I mean,
that's one high bar, Nick.
Yeah, very, very high. So but no, he's doing well. I don't approve of all the choices, but overall, he's
yes,
okay, right. You got to figure things out on your own.
Yes, well said, right? You part of that guidance is giving a little bit of a leash, right, to hopefully learn from the school of hard knocks. that takes different shapes for different people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, Maya, the college search is in full throttle right now,
Yes.
and you add soccer as a layer into
Right.
that, like, because she'd like to play, but, she doesn't want it to be her life. And, she's played soccer since she was 4 years old.
How
And she
about it?
loves
Good
it,
for her. Yes.
And
Where does she typically play on the
uh,
field?
say that again.
Where does she typically play on the field?
She's a centerman.
Okay, good for
Yeah.
her.
So she's got great vision, and like she can play in college if she really wants to. And so the
Yes.
question is, like, how do you balance finding the right school for you with finding the right soccer program for you, with finding the right budget for your parents, and sort of like, how do you marry all those three things together? It was a lot easier with Nick.
Hmm.
So that's kind of where we are right now.
Yes.
It's hard but exciting, and you're learning along, and she's just so much more independent. She's reaching out to the coaches and having dialogue and doing video calls, and that's all on her. So she's really taken the lead on that, and I think whatever happens, she will have learned and grown so much through this process about how to advocate for yourself, what's important to you. And she's funny. She's like, Mom, she's like, I don't like when I have to like talk myself up. I'm like, get used to it, because you're gonna have to do it for a lot of things.
Yes.
And I said, you want to be proud of your accomplishments. It's not bragging. It's showcasing what you've been able to do and how that translates onto the soccer field. So, there's definitely growth. She's in a leadership class now that she was invited into, and she's like, oh, I think this is going to be really good, Mom. So it's exciting to kind of see her, become her best self through this, and sort of, following in Nick's footsteps, but really paving her own path, because they couldn't be more different people.
Really?
Oh, she is very, very social. Nick has become much more social in college, but he was very quiet. Very much like very much like me in high school, where like I had my group, and it was just sort of like you did what you needed to do to get to like the next point. Where Maya's like, there's this party and there's this party, and I'm going here, and she's got all these different groups of friends, and it's like trying to keep everything straight. But she manages. She goes to school, she works, she plays soccer, she figures it out. So she'll be fine wherever she ends up. We'll see.
Right. Yeah, that's it. As a wise man once wrote, where you go is not who you become, right? So to know that they're not defined by, certainly you want there to be the right fit,
right.
But at the end of the day, appreciating the process as you're talking about, that's worth its weight in gold for sure.
Yeah, it's just, it's, and you just, and going through the college search, like, I feel like every day a college pops up that I've never heard of before. It's just, there are so many schools, and they, you find your niche, and I don't know, it's exhausting. It's a lot of, and I think I went on 2 college tours when I was looking for schools, right? And they were both within driving distance.
Yes.
We were hopping on planes.
Right. Remind me, where'd you end up for your college?
For my undergrad, I went to William Patterson.
To William Patterson, okay.
I worked in media for a while. And then worked in public relations. And then went back to school, got my teacher's certificate, did that at Rider, then got my master's at Rider. And then just
beautiful campus, by the way.
I love Rider. Oh my gosh, there's not enough good things I could say about that school.
Yes.
And then just finished my doctorate at Rider last year.
Congratulations. That's super.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a personal goal for me.
All right.
And to do it before 50. I have age deadlines associated with it.
Well, you know what? That's a fantastic segue, actually, in terms of thinking about, we're all kind of on the cusp of 50 here.
Whoa.
So as far as, we've looked back, and now looking forward, what do the next 30 to 50 look like in your world here?
I think for me personally, I mean, obviously I want to make sure my children get their start in the world as independent people, and, to be there to support them with that. But it's really now sort of starting to turn the focus back on me, and think about my professional goals and what do I want to do next, and I think having my doctorate opens up some more doors for me. I definitely want to stay within the field of education in terms of, thinking about how do we move it to next gen, right? Like we need to, there's some changes that need to be made. So whether that's working at the state level, whether it's working at a think tank, whether it's working within a district in some supervisory capacity or working at a university, preparing the next set of teachers that are going to go into those classrooms. That's kind of where I am right now in terms of just exploration. But for the time being, like I love my position. It gives me great autonomy. I work with great kids. And it gives me the flexibility to be there for Maya, going into her senior year. There's a lot of moments, there's a lot of events. Last year I didn't, I was able to get to every single one of her soccer games, and they made it to the state championship, and it was awesome. It was just such a really special high school experience to have, and I'm so glad I was able to be there. And I think if I had had a more typical job, I wouldn't have been able to have that. So I hesitate to make that next step unless it's absolutely perfect, because I really want to, be able to kind of capture those moments that are only going to be there once.
Yes, well said. And when you get a taste of the time freedom professionally, boy, it is hard to go back to be constrained. So I feel your pain that way.
You definitely bite the bullet in terms of salary, but there's more to life than money.
That's right.
So it's trying to find the perfect balance for your family at that moment. And I just feel like it was a blessing to have summers with my kids. Nobody can ever take those memories away.
Yes.
And I think there isn't a price tag you can put on that. So,
that's right.
While our society sort of focuses on that money, and yeah, it would be nice to make more money.
Of course.
Educators do not get paid well.
Right.
But I feel like there's more, there's more to it than that. So,
yes.
We'll see what the future brings. It's funny because, 50's next year. And I think back and like 50 used to sound so old. And then I think about myself and my career and I feel like there's so much more I have to give. Like 50's just the beginning. Like you finally sort of like have some stability. So I don't know.
Nice.
I think it's exciting.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, life is always bringing those twists and turns and thinking about how you combine the time, the resources, the talents you're given in a way where you're maximizing both your impact inside and outside your home. Easier said than done, in terms of striking proper balance and living on purpose, not just being mindless about, getting through the days and weeks, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I learned so much from the kids, from my personal kids and from the students that I teach, who I always tell them, I said, once you have me, like you become my kid. And whenever somebody asks me outside of school, like, how are your kids? I always have to have them clarify, like, do you mean my personal children or do you mean my students? Because you're all kind of my kids, like, and there's just special relationships that are formed if you're willing to sort of form them. And, you see how much they want to sort of branch out on their own, but yet how much guidance they need and just how much understanding they need. Like kids today are going through a lot. And, you see the news reports and you see all this commentary and, it's something Ray and I talk about all the time. It's like, how do you, especially as an educator, like how do you support the kids that are in front of you who might go home to parents who have different ideals and different values and one of the roles that I'm most proud of this year that I was able to take on was that of the LGBTQIA plus community club facilitator, because there's a lot of students that are trying to figure a lot of things out and they need a safe space to do that. And it's not for anyone to pass judgment on their personal choices or decisions or what they're going through, but it's just to sort of be a space for them to say, hey, like, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling, and like, where do I go next? And it's been so rewarding to just offer that space for these kids and to be able to sort of share resources so they can sort of figure things out and educate their peers and educate themselves and perhaps educate the adults in our building and educate adults outside of our building. And some of the kids have really risen to the occasion. And it's just been, it gives me goosebumps because you're giving kids a way to sort of advocate for themselves. And I think, regardless of your religion, regardless of your political values, I think if we really all just break it down to, I don't think there's a person that could say we don't want what's best for our kids, right? But we all sort of have this different vision of what best is. And I think a lot of times we have to let kids decide what is best for them because they're the ones living their lives. And we see that when we force things on kids, and it's not the right fit for them, they end up rebelling and kind of finding their own path anyway. And so it's like, okay, so here are all of your opportunities. We're going to sort of guide you and provide the support and the guidance that you need. But at the end of the day, like, your job is to be your best self because you're doing the most for yourself and for society when you're your best self. And, I think it's really easy to pass judgment. And it makes me sad because there's a lot of kids that are hurting because of that, who don't go home to a family that supports them and loves them. And Maya and I were talking about this in the car yesterday. I said, there's nothing in the world that you could do that would make me say, like, you're not my child. Right. And she's like, really, Mom? Nothing? And I'm like, nothing. I'm like, I might not agree with what you're doing, but it's not going to make me not love you. There's a lot of kids that go home and don't feel loved or are basically told, like, you're not my child anymore. And it just breaks my heart. And I know I can't fix that. And it's not my job to fix it. But it's my job to sort of give them a space where they can sort of figure out how to fix it for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's well said. I know I'll often tell my daughter, Jules, I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. When it comes to recognizing the fact that we can't underestimate the power we have when it comes to the shaping and mentoring we do for the kids inside and outside our homes. And boy, you got me thinking about a boy at our church who, teenager, really funny kid, kind of the class clown type. And at some sort of function, I had told him, hey, growing up, I was at a church where it was, a lot of old school Italians. So, we'd often call each other brother this, sister that, and the way we interacted. And so I said, you know what, guys? I'm talking to a group of high school, junior high kids. I'm like, you know what? I want you from now on to feel free to call me Uncle Joe. And sure enough, this kid took me up on it. And so for the next month or so, it'd be like, hey, Uncle Joe, when he'd see me down the hallway or whatever. And sure enough, he's now wrestling with some gender stuff right now. And he's not coming to church, but I tell his parents often, hey, I need you to tell your son that Uncle Joe says hi. And in other words, wanting to keep that connection, because at the end of the day, we all are starving for community, and recognizing that, hey, if I disagree with you on something, I don't fear you or hate you. Let's just find our way to know what our common ground is and be able to interact accordingly when it comes to recognizing the need to, to value and uphold our individual dignity. And hopefully that bears itself out in the way that we look out for one another, in our different circles. So,
yes, I wish more people thought that way.
It's not for the faint of heart to have perspective, to know we can peaceably, live together despite the differences, the American way, right?
Yeah.
So
the question of how much risk are you willing to take for something you believe in is a question, that I pose to my students all the time. Like, we have different levels of risk we're willing to take at different points in our life. And that doesn't mean that one is better than the other, but just recognize what your risk level is and do whatever you can within that level, right? Like Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. And if we can all just sort of keep that in mind, then we could always be doing better because you should always be learning.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I challenge my teens all the time. You realize I'm learning as much as you are this week, right? Because at the end of the day, you're right. That is a lifelong endeavor for sure. Well, hey, we're hitting the 90-minute mark, so not too bad. Not quite as long as Vinny's going here, but class president, I guess he has some license to push the envelope there. That's right. But I always enjoy kind of asking a final question for our guests here, and that's simply this. I don't know if you know Tim Ferriss, but he'll often ask his guests on his podcast if you can have a billboard that everyone would see on a regular basis. What would that billboard say?
Change.
And so, in that regard, oh boy, and see where you're going there. Spoiler alert. So obviously have this tailored to our fellow alums here. So I didn't want to rob your thunder there, but have at it.
So I'm going to go with something that one of our dear teachers that you recently recognized said, and I tell this to every single student I interact with: change is growth.
Mm.
And yeah, that has had a profound impact on me since junior year. And I will never forget Mr. DiGiacomo's words: change is growth. And we can't, if it doesn't change you, then if it doesn't challenge you, it can't change you. And so when you're sort of in that zone of discomfort, that's when you know that you're learning and growing. And so like be reflective and think about how you've grown.
Fantastic. Mic drop moment right there.
Boom.
Let's leave it at that. Maria, thanks so much. This was a treat, and I really enjoyed doing these because, hey, as we've already alluded to, we don't live life alone. And so to be able to glean on some of these highs and lows together is a real treat. And hey, I'd be also remiss to say, between where you guys are and where the Leones are, a little rendezvous down in Philly is overdue.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
we need to revisit the thought of possibly getting the six of us together or heck, we each have 2 kids, so maybe multiply it and do a baker's dozen.
There you go.
In the way somewhere. Hey, this was great. Blessings to you and the fam, and hope the school year ends on a high note as coming down the home stretch here.
Yes, thank you so much. It was a pleasure chatting with you. This makes me realize how much I miss some of those relationships that have they're there through social media, and you kind of know that people are around, but just making the time to reconnect, I think, is important. So thank you for taking on this initiative, and it's awesome. So I appreciate it, and all the best to you and your family and all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, sounds great. All right, see ya.
Take care. Be well.
Yeah, you got it. Likewise.